at what point are you guys burnt out? Because
After
I'm
each
here
weekend.
at 27 and after Pride weekend of this year, I think in my mind I was like, I'm burnt on the sex, I'm burnt on the drugs, I'm burnt on the circuit.
How much sex did y'all have that weekend?
We don't need to know.
I didn't.
Welcome to the Gaily Dose, the weekly podcast made for and by gay men and their allies. We're a podcast with a mission, elevated conversation with the hopes of building a deeper sense of community in the gay world.
Shall, it's time to come take your Gaily Dose.
Welcome to the Gaily Dose. This is Helmut Baserdo Migalski. I'm here with my good friend.
Hello, my loves. It is Dante Adonis Rhodes, as always. And do not forget to check us out online at thegailydose.com, on any social media platform by searching at The Gaily Dose Pod, and anywhere you can find podcasts by searching for The Gaily Dose, and give us a 5-star review, even if you don't like us.
Yes, please. And we have for you, dolls, obviously sitting here between us today, our guest for the episode, Mr. Jake Jonez.
Hello, hello. Thank you guys for having me.
We're so excited
It's
to
a
have
pleasure.
you.
This feels special. It feels like a beginning.
One of my real-life friends sitting next to me.
A real-life friend.
A real-life friend.
You know, fraudulence is my middle name. So if you want to say that, feel free.
Fraudulence.
Real life friends. We've known each other for 2 weeks.
Okay. 2 weeks.
It's been a little bit longer than 2
No, I'm
weeks.
playing. I've known Dante for a while.
Shady Miss Thing over here.
Shadiness is only starting.
Jake Fraudulence Jones.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
She's Fraud Barbie.
Fraud Barbie.
Fraud Barbie.
Now, what's the
Barbie.
deal with the fascination with Barbie? Because I hear you say, like, you just love Barbie, or is you have a thing? What is it?
It's obviously, I think, an ode to Nicki Minaj for me. With
Oh, you
anything.
like Nicki Minaj?
Love Nicki, but it goes way beyond. I think I just started with. I've got coworkers of mine that I'm just like, that's interesting, that's great, that's Barbie. And so many of my coworkers were like, I understand you on an intrinsic level.
Okay.
So I just ran with it.
So that's Barbie.
Then it became a lifestyle for me where anything good was Barbie.
Help.
So Barbie's good. Like Barbie's
like Flo Milli, that's Barbie.
Okay.
Now Helmut, I see the gears really grinding.
Well, yeah, because first of all, I'm going like, that's a doll, and then I'm like, so being
Wait,
like, it's
that
like
works
dolls.
perfectly.
Totally. So
Okay.
it's like, that's doll.
That's
which is
doll,
like, that's
that's
cute.
doll, that's Barbie.
Okay.
And then like even taking it the next level.
I'm gonna cry.
When moments feel like they need a little more specific.
Yeah.
Right. So you can be like, well, that's like astronaut Barbie. So if that was intelligent.
Oh, that's like intensely.
If that was intelligent and good, that was chemicist Barbie, astronaut Barbie.
Oh gosh, I love it.
And as Dante knows, it's really anything you make it.
It is. You
love
toss it up and
it.
throw it out there, girl.
Give it a year, I'll be on to something else.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I
get it.
love, one of the most fascinating things to me about the gay community is how we come up with lingo that just does not make sense to the average mind. Because I have all kinds of things like that.
This is
then
true.
Then you'd be shocked about how many people pick it up.
Exactly.
'Cause-
People just start saying it.
Oh, I have people all around me that now are saying Barbie.
Yeah.
Give
No,
it a
I
couple
get it.
weeks and you might.
I think I might, seriously, but I will say we all do that. And it's interesting because we do it in the business world, but I do think it's an observation in the gay world. We do it like almost like each person's their own individual creator.
Completely agree.
Not everyone, but some of us.
Like,
Wait, what
remember
ways in the
niece?
business world?
Yes, niece. No, I think like, let's take that offline, Bill. Let's take that offline. Or you've got, my double click.
Yeah, okay. Helmut does say that. He hasn't said it as much recently. When we first started this podcast, it was always double click. Every third sentence, he was like, let's double click into that. And double click. And when I double
love
click.
that. Let's deep dive, double click.
Yeah.
But it was about everything, about anything and everything. Like, let's double click. And the way she double clicked and the way I just double clicked.
I might take that over next week.
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Is that Barbie?
Is that Barbie?
I think that's
is that
super
Barbie?
Barbie.
Is double click
That's super
Barbie?
Double click is Barbie Sarah.
So dolls, we have Jake here we're going to talk a little bit about expectations in the gay world and kind of breaking through those expectations. It's kind of our topic to go, but let's just start off with a little bit of Jake. Give us a little bit of a flavors to how you became Jake Jonez, the Barbie we know and love.
The Barbie we know and love. Well, it really started 2 years ago. I renamed myself. My real name is just boring as can be.
So you legally changed it to Jake Jonez?
No, I did not legally change shit. I don't have time to do that, nor the cash. But for me, I wanted to start this YouTube channel 2 years ago. And I said to myself, my real name is gross. I could go by my real name. Nobody has it. But I was like, let me think of something that's like fun, love and alliteration. So I kind of like factory produced Jake Jonez, and it just felt cute. had this ring to it.
Cute.
But that's when I launched my YouTube channel, and I wanted to launch this YouTube channel that was just fun and humorous and showed off my personality. And 2 years later, it has the smallest following on the internet.
No, it does not. It is so entertaining. I love it.
I'm glad you like it. I enjoy doing it so
and
much.
3 people.
Your YouTube channel is cute, though. You do little live streams for the releases of the big albums and artists and singles, and I think that's fun. It's entertaining, and people do watch it.
Yeah, so much
do.
music is in it because I live and breathe music. So there's no way that couldn't touch my channel. But I think when you get into the grittiness of it, there's so much good produced humor. I mean, there's a few videos on my channel that I'm still so proud of to this day that are just so funny. And I could really see coming a talk show moment at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
just
wish
think-
that for you.
But it's been this incredible creative outlet that I've just run with. And now people in the city know me as Jake Jones. And if that's it, that's cute.
Come on, people in the
know?
city. We'd love to
Just
see
the
it.
city.
Just the city.
Oh,
Well,
and then Germany and Brazil.
Right, I remember that. I
Yeah,
was like,
Germany
oh,
and Brazil love
she's
Jake
an
Jones.
international affair.
Come on, Mr.
Yeah,
International.
But that's kind of how I came about. I mean, still so
Yeah.
amateur at it all.
How did you come out of the closet? I don't know this story.
Well, there's not much of a narrative to it. I've heard you guys's though.
Yes.
Mine is so much more privileged, in my opinion.
What's a blessing?
I really
That's
feel like
great.
I had a 21st century coming out of this closet story. My mom has always been so jazz. She's
Yeah.
always been with gays.
Yeah.
Always been cool as shit.
She sounds Barbie.
She's mega astronaut, chemicist Barbie. to
She's
the
brats.
max. She built the Barbie dream house.
She is Brad.
But for me, she always kind of opened this dialogue with me in very small snippets throughout my life of like, I think I'm reading into something. You as my son, you're kind of giving me Fagatron. She was like, I'm not gonna ask.
I
but, like,
love
she
Fagatronic.
was
That
like,
one I'm stealing, like
was
for
like-
sure.
She never asked per se, but she opened some one-liners that were kind of like, well, like if you want to experiment and go through that, feel free.
Yeah.
Then she would turn to my brother and be like, I need you to fucking wear a condom because you're not getting a girl pregnant for shit. So then I saw this dichotomy of like her definitely knowing my brother was straight as shit and kind of having this other side for me. So when it came time to when I was 18 years old,
Oh, you waited till all the way to 18.
I made it all the way to 18.
Little did she know how important a condom would be to you too.
Yeah, very, very true. And I will stand that, until you're in a relationship that's right. But yeah, it opened this world for me where I felt super comfortable with my immediate family to come out at 18. The choice to come out at 18 was really driven by YouTube. I do think my space was safe to be able to come out before then. Something about YouTube and seeing influencers, and the only touches of like gay peers that I had were on the internet. And they kind of advised me like, wait till you're out of high school, wait till you're done with those dumbass peers who could bully you. So I kind of took that as an instruction guide. And literally the day after graduation, I was like, so I'm bringing you home a pint of ice cream because I used to work at Brewster's and I'm gay.
Not Brewster's.
So like, here is raspberry chocolate truffle.
Congratulations.
And then I'm homo. So
That's
How do we
great.
feel about that mix?
That is such a beautiful story. Your mom's probably like, well, thanks for the ice cream. Didn't need it.
No, absolutely. And her first line out of it was, well, I always knew, but can I make one request? And I was like, go for it. And she was like, I do want grandchildren.
I feel like that's every mom
And
says
I don't,
that.
I don't know if you ever felt that pressure when you were living your straight life, but for me, I naturally want kids, I don't even see it as a pressure, but I think it was a really cute request.
That is a cute request. It's a hard one though, because it is hard,
especially in the gay world.
Yeah, I mean that is something that we definitely still have to overcome in this country is the bias against adoption, by gay men of children.
I would say a lot of gay men though don't want to have kids. You'd be surprised. Like I find that's a struggle for me in dating. Like I don't want to waste my time dating someone who does not want kids.
So you want kids too?
Yes, and people think it is so weird, and I say that they're like, but like you have so much life to live and so much you could do. I'm like, and I want a kid.
Oh, I think such a fulfilling part of life is raising a child.
Same.
And I only know that as a bystander, obviously. But for me, I can't imagine being at an age where I am retired and I really don't
With
have
friends.
a family or unit that I can call mine, give advice to, console to. For me, I think a huge fulfillment of mine is being a daddy.
Okay,
And
daddy.
I want to continue that on.
Yeah.
I live for that. No, I want 3 daughters. Helmut already knows this
I
story.
do.
I want 3 beautiful daughters to have all their names picked out. Even if I'm
One
single.
being Barbie.
I love
being Barbie, I heard
the experience for people who choose not to have children, that experience, right? Like I do never step on it. And I feel like it's something I always am very sensitive to because I have kids. And I don't want to either people who wanted them but couldn't, right, or didn't even dream of it because they just felt like it was out of the question. But I am. Everyone knows I'm a huge promoter of marriage and a huge promoter of children, only because I think that coupling has a lot of huge benefits when it's the right person, not the wrong person. That's why I'm single. I haven't met the right person. You got to meet the right person, right? And then I think with children,
you gotta have the right kids.
well, no, with children, you
That's your
be,
job,
be
bitch.
prepared
That's your
to
job,
invest,
okay?
be prepared to sacrifice, be prepared to give up so that you can get something else. So I just love that younger gay men are putting that in the universe.
I love it when people just know what they want and they follow that. So like for me and Dante, I would entrust that we would be good parental figures because it's a want of ours. I know many people who don't want to have kids for shit, and I'm like, stick to that because I don't want you accidentally getting pregnant and raising a child.
No, for sure.
That child's gonna go through
so
it.
if you don't want a kid, that's
Don't
great.
have it.
I'm not even going to promote. I'm not even going to promote kids on you. I'm not going to promote marriage on you.
Agreed.
I'm in this zone where if we get people what they want, they will thrive with it.
Question. So when you date and when you want to date people, is that a question you ask? Because it's a question I ask, and people think I'm crazy for asking
Oh, I
it.
think that's for you.
No, that's for you. Hamut has kids.
Yeah, there's another question. Well, for me, it's more like I'm an automatic filter. If you are not down to hang out with kids, you're not going to date me.
You know what? That's very true.
Yeah, that's already
And trust me,
done.
I've definitely had jarring moments where people have been like, "Oh, you got kids," and walked away, like straight
No.
into the conversation. No, very much so.
But did you sit there and you were like, well, that saved my ass some time?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
where I
for
came.
sure.
I
Sit there and
the
be like,
first or
okay.
second time it happened, I was like, oh.
Shit.
You were like, you can
And
let
then
me down easy.
Yeah, and
baby.
then I was like, oh,
Jesus
you know
Christ.
what? Not everyone's for everyone. So
I think for me, that is a conversation I have. Definitely not too early on, though. And then let's be honest, like Dante, I don't know with you, I get a vibe very early on.
A kid vibe?
A kid vibe, or just kind of like a monogamy vibe. How much do they draw towards tradition in certain
True,
aspects?
but you don't have to be monogamous to have kids.
True.
this is true.
True.
That is true.
Everything you're about to say is very true. I think for me, it doesn't become an explicit question until I really see a future with you.
Really? I ask it on like the first or second date. I just like, I want to know. I don't want to like, because I feel like sometimes we warp our minds around fantasies and we'll compromise things we really like for the sake of liking someone. So if I've decided I like this person, now I'm going to ask if you want to have kids and you say no, then I'm hurt? Or then I'm like, well, fuck it. I don't want them anymore either.
No, yeah, you just
I will
saved
say
some
this
time.
though, that it develops. Like I was thinking about like advice I would give my daughters. I would never have my daughters be like, "Do you want kids?" Like on the first, second date, that would be so off-putting. Like guys would be like, "What the hell? Why?" Right?
But they have a much bigger dating pool. I can only date 7% of the population at most, and then within that 7%, how many will I be attracted to? And out of that, how many will be attracted to me? A lot of
But they
female
might
attracted people in the
come
world.
to a different conclusion about children because of you.
I'm
Very
not
true.
trying to convince. I don't want to go on that journey with you.
But
That's
do you,
fair.
do
That's
you
fair.
also
I
not
get it.
think that brings such a serious tone on a
So
first, second, or
serious.
third
I'm an
date?
intense person to date.
Oh well.
You know what? That's so true.
And I'm an
I
intense
can't even
friend.
back from that.
I'm an intense friend, and like I'm an intense person to date. That's just I have intense energy.
I would
know
have to
that
say
about
the same
myself.
about myself, actually.
So like,
I will tell you.
if
I'm
you
sure
can't
people-
handle an
yeah.
intense first date, then we shouldn't be together.
But take any strength. I think it's one of your strengths, and I would say that I carry it too. But I am older than you by like 20 more years. What? I think any
20 or
strength,
more.
any strength you have, and you turn it up, is your weakness. Period. Every strength we have, you turn it up.
Wait,
it's your
you
weakness.
need to double click into that for me.
So like think about it. Like if I am a passionate person, which I'm a passionate person.
Very.
If I'm too passionate, I'm overbearing. I'm rude.
extremist.
I'm extreme. So you have to like know that about yourself, and then you gotta like just be aware. Like you gotta hold the passion bar down here with someone that's not on that same level,
So for
because you
me,
will
it's
not be
more-
effective.
So for me, it's more of like a red flag kind of thing. Like it's like I don't have any business. You know, at this point, like if you want to, I want to have kids in the next 5 or 6 years, right?
Jesus Christ.
So like at this point in our lives, that
I'm right here, don't
that
yell.
requires important planning. So like if you know you don't want that in the next 5 or 6 years, then why am I wasting time on several dates with
no,
you?
definitely don't want you to waste time.
Yeah,
I'm
like-
just talking about like the beginning stages of a 1 through 3 date.
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
intense for 1 through 3.
No,
it's
it's
like
not. It's a simple. Do you want to have kids one day?
do.
Dial.
I'm not- not you, I mean,
Here's the
but
thing.
like,
You
first
just
or third-
there's
it's
just
not a-
two opinions. Just two opinions about your dial. You cannot listen to it, but we're just saying turn it down a little. That's it.
No.
Okay.
That's the way I date.
Double click into that shit.
But that's why I'm single too, because a lot of the guys I meet, they don't want kids, and that's why I don't go on dates with them anymore. I'm like, well, we can go have some sex, but that's about it.
And that's a good filter for you.
Yes.
So you run with that.
One. I do, and I'll find, and maybe I won't find Mr. Right. I'm still gonna have my kids.
I think you will. I think you just. I love that you are so open about your process and just. You are who you are, which I really love.
Unapologetically. It says it on my Instagram bio. It got dark in here, bitch. Oh
It's
my God.
Yeah.
Our video is responding, and Dante's freaking out because he's in the shadows for a second, and then never good for him or us. So let me ask you this. We wanted to talk a little bit about how stepping out, we actually kind of already started down this expectations. You know, gay men may expect to never have kids, and some of us expect to maybe have them. Jake, I thought one of the things that was interesting about you is that you are a person who doesn't engage in the use of alcohol or drugs. And that's it feels like a whole movement. I'd like to understand a little bit more about what that is for you, what drives it, and how is it being a member of the community and having that difference?
You know, I just found out that it was a movement, in air quotes, from Bennett yesterday.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't even know that. So
It's a movement.
little
It's a
background,
movement.
I've actually been sober my entire life. And that really came from a world of like childhood experiences that I didn't want to see, probably shouldn't have seen, could be laced with some trauma. Made some decisions for myself at a really young age where sobriety was the best, healthiest track I could take. And I sure did do that. And it's something I even benefit from today. But when it comes to being an outlier, especially in the gay community, that's where I see those flares become difficult, right? So when we talk about this level, especially in the gay community, of like this keeping up with the Joneses, right? Mm-hmm. So much drug use and alcohol use is involved in that. And here I am like chilling in the corner like, y'all live it up, go have fun. And Dante's well aware of this because he's seen me as an involved member of the gay community. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still gay, you know, so I'm in the culture in a way, but I exclude myself just from certain behaviors.
So how does that play out? Like, so let's say like, you know, all your dolls are like, hey, let's go hang out at the bar.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, hey, I'll go,
Barbie
but
bar.
I'll be like, you know, Barbie can be in the corner. Or are you like, no, I'm going to pass this one. I'll see you in the park.
I think it's
the
a little
next
bit of
day."
both.
Oh, wait, I actually want to throw this to Dante because you've experienced that a lot with me, you know? I'm definitely not Barbie in the corner.
Okay, so I would say this, and it's one thing I can appreciate about him, and not just say like if you're sober, like don't feel forced to be in these kind of situations, but he does a really good job of just like hanging out. He's not like being weird, like a creep in the corner, just looking at everyone having fun. Like he's in the mix. He's dancing, socializing.
Yeah.
He sweats like the rest of us. Like he has a good time.
Sweat is the right word. Yeah.
Like when we were like Circuit Party, Pride Weekend. He was
I mean,
with
hell,
us.
you've seen me at Shaka Khan
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, no, it's funny because I have taken on the habit now of I will get a sparkling water.
Love.
Right? Just because I'm like, I do not need to drink too much. And so it's interesting because you're at a different level. Everybody else is that level, whatever. And you're still having fun. You're just not at that level.
You know,
with
one thing
everyone
I can say that I think helps a ton is I'm such an extroverted person. If I was any other way, INTJ.
It wouldn't be your team.
Yeah.
If my Myers-Briggs started with an I think it would be.
What is your Myers-Briggs?
My Myers-Briggs is ENFJ.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm the same as Obama.
What's your
pride.
fifth letter?
Oh, I don't know.
Fifth letter.
I only know my phone.
I'm an ENFJ, but I'm also ENFJ
Shut
P.
up.
Yes, this is crazy.
Okay, I do not meet many ENFJs. And
Yeah,
do you
carbon
even know-
copies on the podcast here, dolls. Like, what am I going to do with this
And they
shit?
love it.
Eat it up, honey.
But I'm also like such a fan of music and such a dancer. So for me, it's kind of like a perfect remedy. And I can fake it. Fraudulence Jones here. I can fake it for a
Fraudulence
while.
You know what? It's funny though. I don't know if that's not true for lots of people. Meaning, I don't mean that take away from the Jake Jones reality, but I think there's a lot of people that kind of have this induced like, hey, okay, I'm going to go use alcohol in a setting. But I was actually reflecting on my own youth. Like I didn't really partake in alcohol till I was like 33, like truly. And my daughter, I've noticed she'll go out and it's this energy about youth. And there's this kind of like, I'm gonna have fun and I love the music. And like, we kind of introduce people to this other experience.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of beauty in sort of an unsubstance, altered experience.
I have an interesting take on alcohol and drug use. because of like, partly because of like my upbringing, not that like I had any kind of direct, well, I guess there was some trauma related to drug use, but I don't know. Like, I have relatives who have drug and alcohol problems. I've seen how it can ruin someone's life. When I was in high school, I dealt a lot with, I was on the board of directors for a nonprofit that focused on underage substance abuse prevention work in Gwinnett County in the state of Georgia. So I have the wherewithal to know, like, what's good, what's bad, da-da-da-da-da. But then, like, you come into this gay world and you're like, it's everywhere. So
Everything flies.
yeah, it's like, no, literally
and the level of
everything
acceptance
flies.
and positivity for
And
it,
accessibility of it.
it was hard for me at first. When I first saw it and everybody was like, yes, try that drug and then
it's
do
so
it
accessible.
and then do it 14 times over. That was hard for me in the beginning. And I had to become open-minded to it because I have peers that I adore that are fully involved in this culture. And don't get me wrong, it's a double-edged sword, and I think Dante can speak to that. But there's also this freedom of experience, and freedom of experience is freedom of expression, which goes hand in hand in the gay and queer world. So I have to be fully honest with you. That was so difficult for me.
Yeah.
I
Because
would
coming from a
agree.
place where I grew up with loved ones that really mistreated me for such a long time because of their substance abuse and not because of who they really were.
You saw the bad side.
I
of
saw
substance
Yes.
abuse.
I saw a very dark side. So like this entire experience, even very recent, has been an eye-opening moment for me that it does not always have to be laced with a bad undertone.
Because it is weird. Because like cocaine for me has always been like like crackhead, strung out,
Yeah.
can't. But then you're like, oh, we're at a bar and everyone here is just like living their best life, and then they're doing like lines in the bathroom. I'm like, so this is weird because that's not been my experience in seeing this drug use.
The one thing that is continuously hard on me is the priority that gays put on it.
Yes.
It's almost like it's a leading priority over anything else.
So I think there's also a so I love I had a huge anti use of any sort of substance until I was 38 years old, which is quite, old.
That's recent.
But it is, I basically, that was like 6 years ago,
Yeah.
6 years ago.
50,
And I tried substances, but for me, they were like a learning thing. Like, what am I going to get from this?
Yeah.
Right. And what I did find, though, which is scary, is that there's a loop of escapism that you can generate with a substance. Alcohol is that way. Coffee is that way. Like, you're escaping from the sleep that you need. You just pop a little coffee and you're good to go. And we don't think of all
Pop
these
a
substances.
coffee.
But it's true. But whatever, a little espresso shot here and there, or a Red Bull. But there is a lot of escapism that happens, and there is a lot of altering reality. And I do think, as much as it's like hey, cute, some people enjoy it and it's nice. But I do think that there are a lot more people that engage in it and they are running right from reality, period. That's just what it is. You're not in now, some people need it because it's a medicative thing. They're actually dealing with some other issue, their bipolar issue, their depression issue, their anxiety issue. But I think the layers of depression, anxiety that come with the substance use is often not talked about. I think people do it out of pressure, do it out of expectation, do it out of a need to belong, where it's like, hey, if I do this, everyone else that's hot and cute is doing this, I'm going to do it too because I want to be like them and I want so badly to belong because I've never belonged in my life.
I feel like that's how it starts. That's not why it continues, though. I feel like it becomes perpetuated because your body begins to have a chemical reliance on it. And I
Dependency.
think that's the thing people ignore. They think it's just like, especially people who don't do it, they think it's just this like sex, drug, and rock and roll for appearance. But it's like, no, they're addicted to that.
But I'll also argue that it is the culture of being gay. Like the amount of time it carries on for the gay world versus the hetero world is astronomical.
But it's also too the tracks of lifestyles are different. Like we don't have this urge to settle down. We don't have this urge to couple off and break off and move out of like our lives don't have that cutoff that they have.
Yeah, my only like last thought on this one, at least from my perspective, is that I have noticed though that some of my most creative, productive moments are the moments when I didn't have any use at all. Like I think back to all that time that I spent like building this and there's my career or building there's a lot there. The self-discovery that came through the use of some substances was very beneficial, right? It's just knowing it's like all things in moderation, where it's like, okay, cool.
Not all things, some things.
Yeah, some things never. Some things never. I mean, the reality is, like, think of something like cocaine. Cocaine often develops into a crystal meth addiction because it's actually cheaper and it's often easy to find. I mean,
it was very much giving meth in moderation. It's
no,
fine.
meth never. I've seen so many lives destroyed. That pandemic is going on in the gay community, and it's also going on in straight poor communities.
Girl, the meth is outrage right now. There's meth everywhere for everyone, and it's too accessible, and there's not enough being done to stop it.
And I have a lot of mercy and love towards people that are caught in that, because it's so vicious. I would never want a gay to feel like I judge them, or a human to feel like I judge them for it. I think it's it's scary, and I wish people would be less less hateful, or less, like less stigma, because I would want someone to just say, hey, this is my challenge, and then let's talk about that reality.
I think for some people it's hard for them to find sympathy because it's choice. Like most things in life are choice driven, so it's hard for them to find sympathy. It's almost like when someone doesn't get vaccinated and gets COVID.
1,000%. The empathy in that is so difficult. It's a double-edged sword, and you can argue about that all the time. And it's something I thought about a ton. But I also think this extreme world of us saying OD after OD is causing this movement that you speak to, or that was brought up yesterday, of like this sobriety movement. He made me even Google it. And I don't know why it's a movement, but I'm telling you, the trend in the people I meet over and over, whether it's something I tell them, and I'm not outward about my sobriety often.
You're not. I didn't know you didn't drink for a long time.
Yeah, but when I
tried to buy you a shot and I found out.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But when I am, I swear one or two people will be like, wow, I really respect that.
Mad respect.
And or they'll be like, you need to meet my friend, or I'm meeting more people. I mean, for instance, like me and my roommates, we're all sober. That's kind of a rare thing.
Really? Your roommates are sober? I didn't know your roommate was sober.
So yeah,
you learn something every day.
My roommates are sober.
You guys are so Barbie.
We are so, I mean, that's if you make sobriety Barbie, which I do, but not everybody sees it that way. But it is super Barbie, and we're a household that gets down, We're extreme extroverts. So like when it comes to the sobriety movement, we're all for it, but it's got to be the right choice for you. Yeah. Because I never want my sobriety to be this POV of me looking down upon anybody else. I had to fight that for years. Yeah. If I'm sober at a party, so many people will look at me and just be like, hey, I hope you don't judge me on this. And I'm like, I let that go years ago.
Yeah. I love that. So it's a standout perspective. It's almost similar to the, hey, I want children. Now we have this, I don't need to use substances to have a good time. And I think these concepts, we need to celebrate them more in our community, because although they are, I'm gonna call them fringes, right? They are not necessarily the common thought. I think we are big enough inside our community to accept these other perspectives, and also question, just because we're doing certain things that have been staple to the gay community's birth doesn't mean they need to be staple to the community's growth.
Like what?
Like the use of drugs, the avoidance of children, whatever these are. Just because,
I don't know if that helped birth the community, though. I think those are things that were not allowed to us. Like, I think they sought out drugs because of where they were pushed to, like, the French society. We weren't allowed to have kids because our marriages were not recognized.
So what I'm saying is those are part of the birth process.
I don't think that's part of the birth process. I think that was put upon us.
I'm just saying that's what has happened. There is this high association when you come into cities of substance use. That is something that has happened. And that's global. Like I could literally be in Tel Aviv with the gays right there, and they were like,
but I would say for me, I don't hold the gay community accountable for some of those things, because those are like experiences that you are kind of forced upon you.
That's fine to say, looking at the past, that's someone else's fault.
I'm not looking at the past. I'm talking about like we're vestiges of what was done. Like most people don't want to have kids now because of what they've been through or what was put upon them.
And that's fine. I'm saying the vestiges of the past don't have to be what we choose for ourselves in the future. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm saying these choices are influences. Like they're influenced by those things.
Right. And all
like whether we want to admit to it or not. It's like why black people still live in the ghetto. It's not by choice. It's because of reasons that were put upon them, and not that they can't get out of the ghetto.
Right. They just both exist at the same
time. Oppressive traits.
Yeah, like it's just like, you know what I mean? It's not like these people choose to have these things that are negative. It's like we live in a world that like the society was built around putting them in these positions, and it's it's more than just telling someone like,
Right.
we want to be better. No one wants to be in a bad place.
No, I get that. I guess I'm just saying, even for my own self, I can say, hey, I experienced some of these things because they are part of the experience that was in front of me, whether that is Grindr, whether that is drugs, whether like you name those things. And I have gone down the slippery and dark slopes of some of those things. Fine. But whether or not I choose them going forward is a Helmut decision.
But you are still a lot more driven than a lot of people.
It doesn't matter. It's a Helmut decision. It is a individual's decision as to whether or not they're going to go down the path society tells them, or they're going to make their own choice.
But not everyone is that headstrong.
It doesn't matter. It's still your
talking
choice.
to empathy based on like people who get into drug addiction?
I said people, not my own.
I will still have. I still have love for someone who's caught in it, right? But at the end of the day, that an individual's still responsible for themselves. There's no one else can be responsible for the individual but the individual. Period.
Not if the individual was put into these positions. Like, I don't know. It's almost like you domesticate animals and get mad when they tear up your fucking house.
So what would you
still
do?
A wild dog.
So I mean, you're just talking about product of your environment.
Yes.
And I think that you're saying the same exact thing. It's just like this willingness to have the drive to get out of that.
And I'm just saying, not everyone is that. Like, not everyone is built to have
absolutely
that kind
not.
of. Because, like, I
And
know
history has always
I
shown
am
that.
not going to be the person to be complacent. But not everyone has the mental wherewithal to think that way or to do things that put them in those different places.
Which is why then you have to basically have people that lead others.
Yes.
Right?
And I think that is more important.
And that's where standing up and saying, hey, I'm going to be sober, or hey, I'm going to be a young man who wants children, that's leading. Because what's going to happen is you're going to live your life. There's going to be certain fruit from the life of Jake Jonez. And
Barbie fruit.
People will
Barbie
see
fruit,
that
fruit of the
fruit
loom.
and they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's a life well led. I want to be like you.
Yeah, even if it's not leadership, it's just being out there and being it well known. So anybody else who feels a similar way can gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, here's my voice being heard right now. Right. And here's a perspective that not many young gays, maybe our age, maybe younger, I really can't name anybody else outside of my roommate. Right. So that, I guess it can be called leadership, but I think it's just exposure, proper exposure.
It's true. Cause it's not like it's like not, yeah, well, it's,
But I
but
mean-
it is leading. It's, think about it, culturally, it is influencing culture in a way that our current culture is not operating.
That's true. That's very true.
It's tea.
Then I'll wear that title any day of the week.
Lord Jesus.
But I want to speak to product of your environment really quick, because it's hard to step outside of it, yes. But it's these levels of exposure that I think so many people opt into being a product of your environment, aka keeping up with the Joneses, just for the convenience of it. So in the gay world, there's a lot of maybe culture that has a lot of fortitude in something dark and complacent. And a lot of people will just be like, oh, I actually don't see any other window that's available. So I'll actually press yes to that because I'm not given the red or green pill in the Matrix.
Yep.
So I'm just going to swallow the Tylenol. They go into it because they don't see any other option. Well,
And
here
it's
we
stuck in
are
it.
as the Gaily Dose, giving these people exposure.
Right. No, exactly. And that's the whole thing is you really do in our modern culture, the individual can control their destiny as much as they can. I get it. There's limits of education. There's limits of exposure. There's limits of
accessibility.
Accessibility. Yes. I guess as I look at my own life and I kind of realize I have these aha moments where I'm like, oh, I don't have to be this. I remember like my meme, I loved messy memes all the time on Instagram, right? Like messes do this, and I was like laughing. Some of them
Messy
are the gay
memes? What's a messy
Like
meme?
Hot Mess Express.
yeah, Hot Mess Express, and just things that I was like, ha ha ha. And the reason I loved them so
My mom
much is
lived for
because
that.
they also were like me. They also were like me.
Yeah.
And my identity and what I was exposing myself were together. Well, then when I started going like, why am I I'm tired of being messy. Well, part of that journey.
No gay ever has said that.
But, absolutely.
funny.
Oh, haha. So, but I was like, why are you ingesting this material on a regular basis that is literally completely enforcing an identity that you do not want to know any longer associate with yourself? Stop that habit and you'll stop the enforcement of an identity that you no longer want. And we don't think of it that way, but we have all this media that we can put in, all these voices. We choose which channels come in at the end of the day.
So true. But do you ever subconsciously think that we like to play with an identity that we know we don't like about ourselves?
Yes, that is very true.
Are there certain things
Curiosity.
we don't like about ourselves that we're complacent with because we actually subconsciously like kind of fuck with it?
It's called curiosity.
Right? Because
Yes.
I can
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
you sometimes I know I am a complete asshole And I know that's not good. And I know I want to be like humble and have humility. But there's so much in me that's like, I love looking like an asshole. And beating a bitch down with my words, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if part of you loved being a little hot mess.
There was part of it, for sure, at
And
the
like,
time.
being like, I was so crazy back then.
But I realized that for my longer term goals,
Jesus.
that wasn't going to be aligned to what I
You
wanted.
couldn't be a hot mess
1,000%.
forever.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know. We all have these little like parts.
This
of
just
our...
tells me so much about you. I love that.
Oh, get ready. There's
A
so
little
much more to
hot
learn about this
mess.
one. This one's been like a Pandora's box of craziness, but wisdom all at the same time over the past year.
So one last topic I know that we talked about before I let Dante wrap us with a fun question at the end. We talked a little bit about circuits and
Circuit parties.
circuit parties, and kind of young opinion that you kind of did a little like poll of some friends over circuit party weekend, and I was curious if you could share that and talk a little bit about that aspect.
You mean like the conversation I had with people about like, do you
Yes.
really enjoy this?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think this was one of my first circuit parties in years. I went to
the
one.
one we went to together?
Yeah.
That was
I'm
tea.
about to. Well, you're about to hear it for sure. But I asked a few people. I mean, such as my best friend, who Dante knows, and then a few others. And I'm like, is there an aspect you really love about this? And they're like, no, I think it's just about being out, being seen. Because let's be honest, these circuit parties, we wear nothing, myself included. They're on drugs to experience what music? Because I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, circuit music is what music? Does anybody want to? Anybody want to?
What
No.
mean?
I have
It's
some
just, to
points
me,
to
circuit
rebuttal.
music is not a real music to get down to, but when you're under the influence, I'm sure it's lit as can be. But my overall survey basically said, I don't think any one of the friends that responded really enjoyed being there. But it was all about being seen, being heard, and being a part of the gay community in the most risque way. Because let's be honest, there's like this narcissistic side of us that all wants to be seen, wants to be heard, especially us testosterone-driven men. We want to feel sexual. We would sometimes want to feel sexualized, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, then that's driving us. Then why don't we just say that? Then why don't we just hold a huge orgy and then anybody who wants to be there will be there, right?
That's taking it to the
But
extreme.
instead,
People do that.
every pride they
Mama,
feel
mama,
like they need to
mama.
put on. Yeah,
They do. Like after
No,
the
I
circuit
know,
party,
I
that's the pregame.
depending on your spice, right? You may choose that option.
Yeah,
So-
and that's just the pregame. They do have the big orgy where everyone is invited and you can come if you'd like.
but that very well could just be like my group of peers, right?
Yeah.
Because I do think there's a genuine aspect that people really do enjoy about this. Otherwise, they wouldn't go.
I will speak to why I go because I was very anti-circuit for
Tell
a
it.
very long time. And then randomly, so it happened this way. So beginning of this year, I went to training for work and I was gone for like 7 weeks. Hadn't seen anyone I know, and I was like, I want to have fun. And they were like, we're going to go to Zion this weekend. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go.
Fuck it.
And I was like, that was actually so fun. And I felt like I'd been sleeping on this community for so long. But it was like, the music wasn't great and da-da-da-da-da. But then there was one random weekend that I actually went, and there was a good DJ there. And I was like, and it wasn't your typical like, on like a loop. It was like, they were actually mixing music, you could tell.
Holy shit!
And I had a good time there. And then like Pride weekend, that circuit party was fun for me because like me, Garrett, and I'm naming people, child. Me and a few of my friends were on the, I don't care. We were on the box dancing, and I had like my white wig on. I was having a great time. And like I was giving my full fantasy. So like, and there are moments in circuit parties where I really do have fun, and that's why I go there to have fun. There are other moments where I'm like, this is, So it's like it's pluses and minuses. It's like the same way I feel about any other bar in
But
Midtown.
like that minus is such a minus.
Not for me, for you.
But like, so when you speak to live in the fantasy, like the party here in Atlanta called Shaka Khan, live.
Hate it.
Love
Hate
it.
Favorite
Love
party
it.
in Atlanta.
Favorite.
Hate it.
Why?
Me too. But
Something about dancing in a hot parking lot is just not for me.
I think it's
that
just
and
called
church,
grit of the
that
earth.
and church, Vicky Powell, like those to me are my top
No.
two things.
But
to
tell me
do.
why. Like for me, it's the music, it's the people,
It's the music. It's more vibey. I like that it's a mix of gay
vibes.
and others. I feel like you can be more queer. I feel like
Queer
you can
shit.
be more femme, if that makes sense.
Girl, if you can't be queer at a fucking circuit party.
You can, but there's a certain element of it's almost like a tribal mating dance for men, where it's like, and it's just there's a whole level of
Yes.
a sexualized element to it that's very intense, which what people are doing there. You do have the people that are totally out of it. You have
Yes.
people that are
You do.
The wall of dolls.
are there, and they've specifically taken substances so that they can perform sexually later. So for them, it is a whole experience that's just
But I
about
think you can
sex.
find that in any room.
No, I agree you can, but it's a part of our culture that we promote, and a huge amounts of just travel everywhere to do it. There are people who live their lives in it and love it, and they spend years in it, years and years and years.
Now that's the thing that confuses me. Like, and not to sound like I'm age shaming, but when it's like
No.
50-year-old men at circuit parties, I'm like, these drugs are not good for your heart, mama. Like, this
I
can't
will
be
say this
like.
as someone who has been older and still has gone out to those venues. Part of it's going through a process. So I have like a friend who's
I'm
in
not
his
talking
50s.
about you who goes every
Oh,
night.
I
I'm
know.
talking about the ones who do travel, who go every single weekend.
And I think it's where they're at in their self-discovery of maybe they still want to belong, and they go to that place to feel like they belong. Whether that's wise or not, that's a conversation I'd love to have.
I don't think it's irresponsible. I just wonder if that's just like, is that not hard? Like, does your like, it's
Your
after
body,
like
yeah.
after 3 weeks in a row of doing circuit parties, my body is done. Like the Pride weekend and my best friend's birthday right after, I am done for a while. So when people do that for like the entire like summer from Memorial Day weekend through November, I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
Built different.
We're gonna have to have
20 years
someone
and 20
on,
years into the game.
that can
Truly.
speak to that experience.
Like 20 years into the game doing that every year, I couldn't.
But here I am
I'd be
being
sticks
a
and
hypocrite to every degree because, right, I'm speaking down on circuit parties in a way, even though I'm not trying to. But here I am attending them.
Well, I
And it
think-
was the first one I attended in years, but I was there.
I have
Yeah.
fun
I
with
was
you there.
seen.
The moments that
I
I saw
wore a
you,
skimpy outfit.
it was
you know?
very skimpy.
I think that
whatever.
I think that it is something to ask ourselves questions about, right? I mean, this is not about casting judgment, but it is about asking intelligent questions on, hey, is this what we want for our future? And is this the best place to do it? And is this the right way to raise our gay youth? Is that sort of the model? Because I will tell you, I know some pretty great gay guys who choose out, right? And they go and they have a completely different life, and they have a different set of experiences, and those memories aren't their memories, right?
Yeah.
So, and I would never say that they have not experienced gay culture, and to some degree, maybe they're looking for gay culture. They wish they could find, something that isn't a circuit party.
And you never know when somebody started their gay experience. I mean, your POV is crazy too.
I know.
But like, even if somebody was out of the closet,
She had
let's say
two
they were
lives.
in a rural area for years, and then they're coming in and they're like, wow, this is a culture.
Yeah.
This is a culture. So
I met someone Pride weekend who didn't come out till like 32, who moved to Atlanta from like South Georgia somewhere, and they were like, "This is crazy," but then he like loves circuit parties now.
Yeah.
So I was like,
And there are people that I know in this community that love that engagement. They look forward to it. They're excited to plan their trip to Dallas to meet all their friends, to go out and dance, and they love it. And they would actually argue fiercely that it is
It's
such an
fierce.
important part of our society. So we're three voices. I will say, dolls, if you do feel passionate or know someone passionately who feels strongly that this is a really good culture, I would love for them to contact
worded
us.
that if you know someone who strongly feels that they are strongly passionate.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm not always a wordsmith, but anyway.
She's not Scholar Barbie.
Yeah.
wait, can I ask this really quick?
Yeah.
At what point are you guys burnt out? Because
After
I'm
each
here at
weekend?
27, and after Pride weekend of this year, I think in my mind I was like, I'm burnt on the sex, I'm burnt on the drugs, I'm burnt on the circuit.
How much sex did
I'm
y'all have
burnt
that
on it
weekend?
all.
Yeah, we don't need to know.
Well, I didn't.
I think it all depends.
I
Like,
mean, no.
I think it all depends, because like it's like we had this conversation Dante and I did. Like, for me, sex is something I want to enjoy with a person.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not into group things, and if I haven't met someone that I really connect with, that's not happening. So a lot of times I actually do not associate circuits for Helmut with sex, because that's not what I'm down for. I love the dancing, right? I love the
It's a
dancing,
mix.
but I don't like excessive use of substances, period. Right. And I actually found that I pretty much am boring. Like, I'm like, alcohol, maybe a little weed, yay, on a rare occasion,
And Eddie.
anything else,
Eddie
but
Ball.
because I don't like also all the come downs that happen mentally. I think that people aren't in
Never felt
recognition of the fact there's a lot of other
I haven't, surprisingly.
there's a lot of other mental
I've never had the
fallouts.
mental come down.
Oh shit.
I
think that's
thought
the
I
golden
would be the
ticket.
one that would have one. I never. I've had the like the like what is it, like the decreased sex drive and appetite, but like I've never had like the sadness. Like I can smile.
Golden ticket.
Sometimes I feel like I almost participate because I feel like you guys are gonna think this is so stupid.
No, we're not.
But I like still connecting with members of the community that I want to continue relationships with. That I feel like I'm like, you're my friend group, and I'm gonna go because this is important to you guys, and I still want to fuck with you, so I'm gonna go. But it's not. I'm actually not here. Like that's me at Pride this year. I went, and it was me to just be with
I
my
will
friends.
say this though, when you were talking
100%.
about your Pride weekend, you sounded like it didn't sound enthusiastic. It didn't sound like you were doing stuff you wanted to. It sounded like you were obligated to do things.
Well, no, I think that's such a great point. Like doing things out of love, right? Like I was there, I was present.
Yeah.
I continue to go out because I love my friends and I want to be with them. They may choose to go out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to fuck with them. So I guess I'm going to be out.
I gotta do my own
I got to
thing.
call it quits
I
at
know
12.
Oh, I did,
No.
and I was like, bye.
I know
No,
exactly
did.
what I wanted to do Pride weekend. I did that, and not all my friends with me at each event I went to.
But and I will tell you this too.
I
Though,
do know
there
that.
is an aspect
And I didn't show up to all the events they went to because I was
do know that.
recovering.
for the Gaily Dose, though, there was an aspect of work to that weekend because the reality is that this is my community. I'm choosing a place of leadership amongst it, so I want to represent and be at those places. I mean, I got a great, little shot of Phoenix dancing at the main event party. I went to that specifically out of mad respect for her, for what she does at, and what she does at Circuit. So I was like, hey, I should show up and be there. And my friends were there, right? I showed up to other events. So it's interesting when you take a role on this side of the queer community, how these different events change, and you start to ask yourself, why are they here, and what are we doing in the community with this event?
And why are they getting so expensive?
Yeah, it's just interesting.
Things I ask.
Bump.
All right, so before we wrap this thing out, I have one last question for you, Miss Jake Barbie Jones.
Jake Barbie Jones.
Junity Jones.
You can
LOL.
add fraudulent in there anytime you want.
Jake
Right.
Barbie Fraudulent Jones. What is your wish for the gay community going forward?
I think for me, I'm really in love with the progress that's happened, I would say, over the past 10 years. So I think for me, keeping on with this progress is a huge wish of mine. But when we keep speaking to like the youth of the gays, the youth of the LGBTQ community, I really hope we get to a point where that progression leads to lack of resentment of the world that was given to us. I know when I first came out in my gay experience, there was a subconscious level of resentment I had for the levels of oppression that I experienced. So for me, that is my ongoing wish, is that this progress is ongoing for not only the US, but all across the world. And I hope that resentment is never at the hearts of the little baby gays, little Mac Nuggets and tater tots growing up right now.
Fag nuggets?
No, little tater tot, little spicy Mac Nuggets, but we can call them little
I
fag
like little fag nuggets. I think that's so cute. So many words today.
Yeah.
Fag nuggets. What was the other one? Fagalicious? Or
Fagatron.
Fagatron and fag
I'm
nuggets.
happy to create an encyclopedia for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were actually talking, dolls, before the episode about how much we actually both love the word fag.
Yeah.
And its use.
Fagalicious. Fagatron. Fag nugget.
Fagotist.
I want to be a fag tender.
Fagist.
Fag dad.
Faggist. Anyways.
There's almost like no way to have the gay lisp when you say fagist.
Faggist.
Fagist.
So you got us a little call to Kiki.
I'll let you do this one.
All right. Dolls, I say from a call to Kiki perspective, I would like you to think about the things in your own self that you feel like are different or against the tide in the gay community, and talk to a fellow doll about it. Do some inventory. Think about one or two things that you're doing that are like different. I love this. He's like, Jake's like on the mic, mocking me. But I think that's an important thing to do. It's a moment of self-discovery, but the part about this call to Kiki is sharing it with someone makes it real. I feel like if you just like keep that in your little head and you're like, oh, I really don't like circuits as much as I say, you're not going to do shit about it. If you actually talk to someone about it and make that connection real, that's the whole reason the call to Kiki is about connecting with another doll. Then you will actually talk about it, think about it, elicit more things that might lead you to act. And the whole point is you need to act out of that center that you are, or you aren't going to become the person, the little unique unicorn you need to be. So listening to that inner voice and sharing it with your dolls is going to be the best way to get there.
And that's Barbie.
And that's
Period.
on me.
And that's on me. We want to thank you, Jake, for joining us.
Thank you. I've had a great time.
Delightful.
It was truly a kiki with the dolls.
It's
With the dolls.
Yeah.
And dolls, we
Thank you so much for having
you're
me.
so welcome. Dolls, we remind you, once you learn to love yourself, we need you to learn to love everyone else. Cheerio.
Au revoir.
Adios.